Hello, good afternoon. It's Adil Fazal here, market analyst at CFDs.com. Be sure to visit the website www.cfds.com to certainly open up a potential trading account with a 25% cash bonus. Alternatively, you can visit the website for educational purposes, which is www.cfds.education to certainly learn more. Okay, now in terms of trading, let's try and decipher exactly what's happening here. After the stronger European data we had in terms of ZEW, Germany and the Eurozone, it certainly has propelled the European indices higher, even though we had the Asian markets lower overnight and we have the uncertainty from the Fed. So let's try and decipher exactly what's going to happen here. Okay, let's bring up the actual chart of the German DAX now. Let's see exactly where this market is placed from a technical perspective. Okay, so I did mention yesterday that we had this H&S formation target of 10,140 complete, and therefore you are looking for a potential short squeeze, and that's exactly what ensued. My timing was slightly off though. Now I'm currently minus 6 points for the week, so that shows you my timing is certainly off at the moment. After obviously finishing up almost 400 points last week, I'm minus 6 points this week. So it's been very hard to read the markets, especially with regards to the sell-off earlier yesterday. So okay, so H&S formation is complete. Short squeeze obviously is active on the daily chart. 60-minute chart of the German DAX, obviously we've broken out this falling contracting wedge pattern, folks. Okay, so certainly keep an eye out for with regards to that. Now you have previous support equals resistance, so any move higher will obviously be met with the resistance at this 10,550 level. Given the fact that we've obviously retraced up to the 10,480, 10,500, we certainly need some type of retracement here for a higher low. Although having said that, you do need to be aware that you do have an unfilled gap left below. So again, not exactly not exactly much confidence in this move or thrust higher. So again, this certainly needs to be taken into consideration as well. Now that we are touching on the German DAX, we do need to bring up the chart of the Euro USD as well, because this whole market is about the Euro USD. So let's just bring up the chart of the Euro quickly and give you an insight here. Obviously, we failed at 200 MA. The market obviously has retraced quite substantially, given the fact that obviously we are expecting this rate hike, etc. And the Euro USD certainly seems to be collapsing very quickly. Now, that's obviously the reason why the European equities are higher, because of the fall from 1.1050 down to it's almost 150 point drop on the pip drop on the Euro USD. Now we are slamming into the 200 MA, so you should see some type of support in the Euro USD here, and obviously European equities should come into resistance. If that fails obviously to materialize, then you are looking at potential support further low, and you are going into that 1.08 region, and obviously that will certainly help and propel European equities higher as well. So bear that in mind. Okay, now the euro, certainly from my understanding, given the fact that there's quite a solid and a powerful flush lower, even though we have failed to hold these supports at 1.0940, 1.0920, you are now coming into support. So bear that in mind. And also given the fact that the daily chart, obviously you have these higher highs and higher lows, and you are into previous resistance, or previous support equals resistance, or resistance equals support, should I say. Now again, that 200 MA certainly has held. Now given the Euro USD or price action of Euro USD, let's bring up the chart of the German Bund. As always, the German Bund will give you an inverse proportion or inverse movement. Now the German Bund itself certainly is putting in a potential bottoming tail on the daily chart. Let's zoom in onto a 60-minute chart. You are now coming into support. So given the fact that the German Bund now is starting to potentially move higher here, so bear this in mind, okay, in terms of the Euro USD itself as well. So bear that in mind. Now again, the German Bund obviously has held previous support equals resistance to a large extent, okay. Now the German Bund obviously has fallen. Now the Euro USD is falling alongside that. So in theory, that shouldn't happen. In theory, the German Bund should certainly start to move higher, and that obviously causes the actual euro to fall. But this is the inverse happening right now, and that's mainly due to the divergence scenario. Okay, so just bear that in mind. This is quite important. Now, if we do get a continued fall in the euro, then or should we say the German Bund, then the euro will certainly start to rise. Okay, so again, this is certainly something to take into consideration. Now, given the fact that the daily chart of the Bund itself is set up for a potential Bund to fall, and that will cause the euro to rally, and that will cause the dollar obviously weakness. Now that's based on the assumption that Miss Yellen obviously has factored, or Miss Yellen is going to be a dovish going forward, and that so all the basically the one and done rate hike is certainly factored into the market, and that's probably the reason why equities are rallying today as well. So that's certainly that's the thought process of the equity market too. Okay, now going back to the German DAX itself on the 10-minute, you can certainly see exhaustion now in this zone, and we are looking for a potential pullback on the German DAX. Now, if you do get a pullback on the German DAX, your first level of call always is previous resistance equals support. So you'll see support around the 10.385 region. If that fails to hold, then you do have this key level here, which is a 10.315 level. And remember, you do have the unfilled gap at 10.140 that needs to be filled as well. Okay, so certainly bear that in mind. Okay, now in terms of the actual French CAC, let's bring up the chart, the French CAC now. The French CAC certainly obviously is showing exhaustion on a 10-minute chart. The daily chart, certainly yes, we've had this thrust higher from gap fill support. I did mention this yesterday. 60-minute chart has certainly broken out of this falling, contracting wedge pattern, so certainly a potential bullish sign. But I think we are looking for a inverted head and shoulders formation, so we are looking for potential resistance here, and you are looking for a potential coil back, and then obviously a thrust higher. So you're looking in this zone here. Okay, so this is your right shoulder, this is your neckline, and any potential move or thrust lower, so you have this pattern. Obviously your head is being put in here, you're looking for a potential thrust retest of this breakout the channel, and then obviously off we go to the races. So again, this is going to be interesting going forward, especially given the fact that the euro is now into support. Euro into support, obviously euro starts to move higher, the CAC starts to move lower, and then obviously eventually when the euro folds, etc., then we'll see exactly how the market reacts. But that's the thought process at present. Okay, so French CAC certainly poised for a potential pattern, but initially we are looking for a pullback. The 10-minute chart basically does explain that, and very clearly. If you look at the 10-minute chart, you can see that you do have gap fill resistance above. You have horizontal resistance here as well, and you have this bearish or bearish continuation pattern on the actual candlesticks themselves. Now you have your support zone in this area here at 4555, and you have the 200 MA at 4585. So any pullbacks into those levels, you are going to see support in the interim. But bear in mind, folks, obviously with regards to Miss Yellen, it's an absolute wild card in terms of what she proposes, etc. And you do always have the possibility of this unfilled gap below at 4470 closing as well. So always be open-minded to all potential scenarios and possibilities. Okay, right. The actual Eurostoxx now. Let's bring up the chart. The Eurostoxx. Okay, Eurostoxx itself. We certainly have had a bounce, but you do have an unfilled gap below at 3090 that needs to close. So that certainly is something that you need to take into consideration. Looking at the 60-minute chart here on the Eurostoxx, you are looking at previous support equals resistance. And again, the Eurostoxx certainly seems to be putting in a potential inverted head and shoulders pattern. Look at this move. Okay, so you're looking at the neckline here. You're looking at a potential retracement now back to the 3190. And then eventually you are looking for a potential thrust higher. So again, remain open-minded. You've broken out of this bearish channel here. You've broken out now. You're looking at a potential higher low, and then you're looking at higher highs and higher low, and then off you go to the races. Okay, that QE put, Draghi put, etc. certainly kicks in. Again, it's going to be very important as to what Miss Yellen has to say. If she sounds dovish, then obviously that sends the euro higher, and we know exactly what happens when the euro goes higher. So again, that certainly is something to take into consideration. Okay, now the actual FTSE 100. Now this has been a stellar rally on the FTSE. I've been stopped out twice today on the FTSE. As you can see, the weekly chart certainly has bounced off that pivot low. Going into the Fed, people are obviously short squeezed or being squeezed or closing their short positions because they don't want to be caught on the wrong side. Because she may well sound very dovish going forward, and that could obviously help commodities. So 60-minute chart on the FTSE itself. Yes, we've thrusted higher. Very, very impressive thrust, and you do have obviously resistance in this 6080 zone, so bear that in mind. But we certainly seem to be finding some sort of resistance at present. Okay, so go to the 60-minute chart. You'll see that we did have resistance at the 6010, but we certainly didn't hold. And you are looking for a potential fall or further low. I was expecting this 6113 or 6010 level to hold, potential recoil, and then create this inverted head and shoulders, but that certainly hasn't occurred. And the FTSE itself is dependent upon the commodities as well, so bear that in mind. Okay, that's something certainly to consider. Okay, so the FTSE certainly has broken through the key support zone at 6010, so to bear that in mind. As you can see, oil prices certainly are touching the $37 level, and that's certainly helping the FTSE 100 index. Okay, now the 10-minute chart, let's just zoom in and give you a further insight. The 10-minute chart certainly looks exhausted, although we actually blasted through those key levels. My stop loss was at 6044, so when we touched this 6037 level, we almost stopped me out. So very, very impressive. Now, given the fact that we've thrusted back down to the 6,000 level after hours, I had the opportunity there to close my position, and now we certainly seem to be clawing back into the 6020 region. So again, my understanding, I will be looking to short the market. I'm already short the Eurostoxx. I may well short the Nasdaq shortly as well, and looking for further downside going into the Fed. Also, the FTSE certainly should come into some type of resistance given the uncertainty going to the Fed announcement. So again, that's certainly something to take into consideration. Now, you do have this, shall we say, rising, contracting wedge pattern, looking for a potential break, looking to test the 5980, 5985 level, or potentially even the 5960 level before we actually get this thrust higher again. Horizontal resistance was here at the 6010, but obviously we've certainly thrusted or certainly managed to rally higher. And bear in mind, you do have an unfilled gap at 6095, and you also have an unfilled gap at 6135, and they're all zones that we're looking to potentially target. Okay, I think that's a summation of the European indices now. You can cross-reference the Euro S&P 350 with this bullish engulfing candle. Also, you got the Euro 600, the Eurostoxx 600. Again, all indicating exhaustion and indicating resistance. So, looking for a slight or minor pullback, which eventually will be bought, and you are going to see new highs shortly. Okay, I think that's a market wrap. Be sure to visit cfds.com for your trading needs. Goodbye now.